¿Qué pasa, Pela? Aquí Muchamiel y por fin tenemos fecha para la fase 3 de Season of Discovery. Por fin tenemos fecha y va a ser antes de lo que pensábamos. Yo al principio dije hace tiempo que sería la primera semana de abril y obviamente acerté, como todo lo que digo. Es más, ayer en directo dije, van a anunciar la fecha antes del miércoles. Volví a acertar, así que ya sabéis, abajo tenéis el link en la descripción de Twitch y os podéis suscribir en YouTube para que no os perdáis todo lo que digo porque todo se cumple. Y cuando lleguemos a los 20k de subs hay sorteo, así que dale que gratis. La diferencia está en que esta vez nos la han hecho muy fácil. En el canal de Blizzard para el WoW tenemos fase 3 Preview, Season of Discovery. Dura 25 minutos y nos vamos a enterar de todo, así que vamos a ver el vídeo entero y vamos a verlo juntos.
Hi everyone,
Aquí os
I'm
pongo
Playstone,
subtítulos.
Associate Production Director of WoW Classic. Welcome to our Season of Discovery Phase 3 preview. As our team has shared in the past, we have been blown away by the reception to Season of Discovery, and we're so excited to share this sneak peek at what's ahead.
Un adelanto, lo que quiere decir que todo esto es oficial, o por lo menos la gran mayoría de ello.
With you. So with that, let's take a look at what we'll be covering today. We'll kick things off with raid information.
¿Vale?
Then, a preview of rune abilities, followed by our PvP updates, changes and additions being made to world events, a look at what's coming to professions, and close it out with a very important system update.
Vale.
And more, which you're definitely going to want to stick
Vamos a ver
around
un
for.
poquito de todo. Vamos a ver raid, vamos a ver PvP, vamos a ver todo. Venga.
So just like last time, some disclaimers. We're going to put the build up on PTR soon to check our era and hardcore realms. But like all the other phases, Phase 3 of Season of Discovery will not have a PTR for player testing.
Esto lo sabemos ya.
Still, there will be some data mining that occurs in advance of the launch. But as we've been saying since the beginning of Season of Discovery, not everything data mined will actually be in the phase.
Cosa que ya sabíamos, lo datamineado no siempre aparece entero, pero sí que hay cosas que son verdad.
Or future phases. So speculators beware.
Tengan cuidado,
And conversely, there's more to discover in this upcoming phase and beyond than we're
Hay más por descubrir en esta próxima fase.
going to talk about ahead of time.
Bien.
And we want your feedback. Everything we do across Classic continues to be a journey that is co-written by you, the players, and we can't wait to hear your thoughts on all of it. All right, so I'm sure it is a total surprise that absolutely no one saw coming that the Temple of Atal Hakar, aka the Sunken Temple, will be our new and first 20-player level up raid. This raid is jam-packed with 8 bosses, tons of new items including new item sets, new and revamped epic drops, and up-leveled and rebalanced quest rewards.
8 bosses es más de lo que llevamos viendo, pero a mí 8 bosses se me quedan cortos. 8 bosses me parecen pocos, tendrían que ser entre 10 y 12 para mí.
This is also when the level 50 class quests
Y las
come
misiones de
online,
clase, a ver qué
which
pasa
will
con
provide
ellas.
a wide array of powerful items for each class. Jumping into a quick preview of a few of the bosses, the first boss in this raid is Atalarion,
Sí,
a
lo de siempre,
massive
Talarion.
berserker troll that acts as a bit of a janitor, cleaning up or potentially eating any person or thing that happens to fall down from the atrium above. If the fall doesn't kill you, this guy definitely will. Next up, we have a brand new boss, the Festering Rot Slime. This engorged, gelatinous monster inexorably patrols one of the outer rings of the Sunken Temple, consuming any wandering adventurers
Vamos a ponerle un 1.25, ¿no? Vamos a subirle un poquito la velocidad porque este chaval habla bastante lento.
enough to cross its path.
Mejor.
A bit further into the raid, we have Jamal An and Ogam, a priest and an undead avenger, utterly dedicated to seeing the blood god Hakar return to the mortal world. These two will keep you on your toes and have a few tricks up their sleeve to keep the fight interesting each time you encounter
Vale, bien, que le hagan cositas también. Solo bosses normales,
Aranicus. Aranicus has been having a bit of a bad dream for the past few decades, and that dream is manifesting in our world in a variety of ways, which Nora will talk about in just a little bit. For those that make it to his lair, we can't recommend waking this big beast up, but if you do and are able to prevail, a lot of sweet loot will no doubt await you. Speaking of loot, here's a quick look at some
Era lo que hablamos, que al fin y al cabo era la que mejor entraba por lore.
of the awesome rewards you'll find inside the Sunken Temple. First up, we have a new take on the Drakestone item, with a new shadow...
¿Cómo? Drakenstone of the Nightmare Harbinger. Incrementa el daño hecho por sombras, arcano y también daño y cura, bueno.
Spell damage
Un offhand,
Next up is a rather unique weapon. Yes, it's an axe gun. Shamans and...
Hacha de 2 manos con fuerza, estamina, fire de Gun X, at your target, haciéndole una barbaridad de daño adicional cada vez. Oye,
Paladins have felt left
este
out for
uso,
quite some time
este
when it
uso,
comes
no
to
de
having
proc,
ranged weapons.
de uso.
Short of Egan's blaster, there's not much for them. Now, you too can have a gun that you can swing like an axe or shoot like a gun, with a cooldown, of course. It's unfortunately a bit slow on the reload. Lastly, we have a quick look at our tier tokens.
Vale, y aquí con
Similar
los
to
tokens.
AQ40,
Seguimos
we'll have
con
two
tokens.
different tokens with several classes on each. We really like the token system in
Pero
Oregon, but it sometimes felt
Pero van por clase. Voy a mover esto para arriba. Pero van por clase, o sea que habrán dos tipos.
a bit bad to be rolling against the entire raid whenever one dropped. So now we'll have two different tokens, and multiple will drop on each boss that can drop set tokens. And here's a quick look at some of the epic rewards. First off, we've got a...
O sea, tienen que poner dos tokens porque hay que equiparse más rápido y a tener más ítems, básicamente porque hay 20 personas en lugar de 10. Aquí hablamos de Epic Soulbone Chest, una pecherita, con estamina, intelecto, espíritu, naturaleza es irrelevante, aunque para brujo no está mal, e incrementa la cura. Ah, bueno, pues entonces caso esto es de Heal, la naturaleza pues sin más. Pero muy bueno para Heals esto, ¿eh?
We've also updated the sword Dragon's Call. One cool thing about this weapon
Estamina,
is that
attack
we've added
power.
several brand new glow effects for weapons in this patch. And this is one of the first items to take advantage of having a very fancy,
Dragoncitos,
but still quite classic, new glow. And just like in previous raids, we've got several fun items lined up as well. The first item is the Atalai Blood Ceremony, which allows you and a friend or frenemy to play a deadly game where only one survives. This item is great for when you need to decide something, and a coin flip just won't cut it. The Unorthodox Hex Stick allows you to embrace your inner critter and transform into a disgusting little creepy crawler to dazzle and disgust your friends. These are just a few examples, and there are several cool things coming with this patch.
Tío, movidas nuevas, está
We've
guay,
intentionally
tío.
left the best ones for you to discover yourself. Lastly, one bit of
Está de
feedback
puta
we
madre.
took to heart this patch was that a lot of updated quest rewards for previous level up raids could feel a bit underwhelming. So for Sunken Temple, we've actually gone a step further and helped rebalance and restat many of the existing quest rewards. The first example here is a Vanguard Helm, and you can see we've made it a bit more attractive to the classes that can use it.
Fuerza,
And Helm
agilidad,
Exile as
estamina,
well. And while not a
agilidad,
quest
estamina,
reward,
intelecto.
we have also carried forward some of the work we did updating dungeon drops in the previous phase, and revamped even more dungeon drop rewards, including Princess Therodros's Scepter. And with that, I'll turn it over to
Fuerza,
Matt to
agilidad,
give us a
guante.
preview of runes
Bueno.
and just some of the new abilities you'll get access to.
Hey folks, I'm Matt Everett, Senior Engineer on the
Cambiamos de
Classic
chaval.
team. I'll go over some of the new runes you might find in Phase 3. Before that, I want to note that we heard your feedback that a lot of runes last phase weren't accessible until level 40. We've tried to balance Phase 3, so you'll find more runes while leveling, but you'll still have some to look forward to at 50. Let's look at Druids first.
A ver.
Thor gives you a chance
Que empezamos con... bueno lo que viene aquí, Cuidado que empezamos ya con las
to reset
runas.
some key feral cooldowns and generate some rage. And improved Barkskin gives you all the benefits of Barkskin without the
Tenemos el Gore, Striking Attack with Lacerate, Sweep or Maul, 15% de resetear el Mangle, en caso del oso, y garantizar 10 de Rage además. Striking Attack with Mangle, Cat, or Shred, 5% de reset, el cooldown del Tiger's Fury. Buenísimo para el gato de PS. Improved Barskin. Ahora lo puedes tirar a aliados. Algo así ya habíamos visto con las runas que habían
drawbacks,
filtradas,
and you can cast it on your friends. Next up are Hunters. With Lock and Load, your traps grant you a free shot with no cooldown. This could be a great 1-2 punch with something like Double Chimera Shot. Focus Fire lets your pet build up Frenzy, which increases its attack speed.
Look and Load, esto ya también lo habíamos visto, haré un vídeo ahí analizándolas un poquito más en profundidad, pero aquí vamos a verlas un poquito por encima. Esta está muy bien, y también el Focus Fire, que consume las aplicaciones del Frenzy para la pet, y así incrementa el rango y demás.
You
Interesantes.
can activate it to consume your pet's Frenzy,
Son ciertamente
boosting your
interesantes
attack speed
estas,
and
¿eh?
granting your pet focus. Next up are Mages. Deep
Magos.
Freeze is a
El
powerful
Deep
5-second
Freeze es
stun on
maravilloso.
a frozen target.
Qué habilidad
Target's
de
immune to
PvP.
stuns, it takes significant damage
Qué habilidad de
instead.
PvP.
Balefire Bolt lets you live on the edge of risk and reward, dealing heavy
Y la que dijimos del Balefire, cuando la usas 10 veces te mueres. Muy
damage
interesante
but
esta,
decreasing your spirit. If you reach 0 spirit,
Muy
you
interesante
die.
estas.
And by the way, if you're leveling a new mage, you might find this rune earlier than you expect. Paladins. Improved Sanctuary makes you even tankier, increasing Sanctuary's damage blocked and damage dealt back to attackers.
Bueno,
Wrath lets you
vale.
crit with Consecration.
Y el
and
Wrath.
applies your melee crit chance to your Holy Shock, Holy Wrath, and Exorcism spells. Let's look at
Bueno,
Priests.
están
Pain and
ahí.
Suffering allows your Mind Flay ability to refresh the duration of Shadow Word Pain, while Surge of Light causes your crits to make your next Smite or Flash Heal instant cast.
Muy
Rogues.
buenas ambas,
Honor Among Thieves
Están
is
muy
incredibly
bien.
powerful, granting you a combo point each time a party member scores a crit.
Esta puede
It does
estar
have a
muy
short
interesante.
cooldown, but you'll be swimming in combo points with this rune.
Cuando alguno de tu equipo tiene un crítico, te da un puntito de combo. Cuidado a los grupos de 5 pícaros.
Cut to the Chase makes it easier to keep
Para
slicing
PvP y
dice
tal.
up by allowing Eviscerate and Envenom to refresh it back to its max duration.
Muy bien esto.
Next up are Shamans. When you deal melee damage, Mental Dexterity applies your intellect to your attack power, and then applies 30% of your attack power to your spells.
Hostia.
Riptide is a
Hostia, lo
fan
que le faltaba
favorite
al
that
chamán,
instantly heals the target for an initial amount,
Bien
and then
para
heals
los
for a similar
heals.
amount over time. When you chain heal a target with Riptide active, it gets consumed
Muy bien
to
para
power
los
up the chain
heals.
heal. Warlocks. Pandemic makes damage over time spells even more overwhelming by letting them crit. With this rune, you can summon the iconic Fel Guards to supplement your stable of demon pets. The Fel Guard is a powerful melee damage dealer capable of both tanking
Qué
and dealing
guapo,
out serious
chaval.
punishment. He's not
Qué
the only new demon you can
guapo,
summon this phase, but I'll
chaval.
let you discover that on your own. Warriors. With Taste for Blood,
El brujo
your
brutal,
rend
eh.
damage lets you use Overpower once per 6 seconds. Sword and Board gives your Devastate and Revenge a chance to reset shield
Para
slam's
tanque y para
cooldown
DPS,
and make it
bien.
cost no rage. This time, Warriors get a bonus rune. The much-requested Gladiator stance lets you live that Sword and Shield Gladiator fantasy. This increases your damage when wearing a shield, as well as letting you use abilities from
Oh, qué guapo tú lo del gladiador.
other stances at the cost
Qué
of
bien.
survivability. This is one we've really been looking
Le
forward
hacía
to bringing
falta
to
el
the
warrior,
season,
eh.
and we can't wait to see what Warriors are able to do with it. I love watching players work together to find all the new runes each phase, and I'm looking forward to this one. Up next, Nora will join us to talk about PvP updates.
Hey, thanks, Matt. My
Vale,
name's Nora Valletta,
vamos a
and
ver
I'm the lead
PvP.
software engineer on WoW Classic. I'm here to talk about some of the other updates we've got coming in Phase 3, starting with PvP.
Vamos a ver el
One of the
PvP.
things we've learned from previous phases is that PvP can be a bit rough when the only thing available is PvE gear that is generally set up with output stats rather than survivability stats. As a result, we're going to be introducing a brand new level 50 PvP set that requires ranks 5 through 7 to equip and earn. This is similar to the rank 10
5, 6,
and rank 13
7.
PvP sets in that it's a full 6
Pero empezamos ya con los
set with
sets, ¿eh?
appropriate PvP set bonuses. There will also be a starter set available from a new faction called
6 piezas. Será piezas, ¿no? 6 piezas. Uy, qué interesante esto, ¿eh? Guardianes
We'll go
Esmeralda.
into more detail on them later on. Here's a quick look at a few of the new PvP set
A ver, calla, 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 calla un momento, calla un momento, calla un momento. Vamos a ver esto tranquilamente. A ver, tenemos estamina, intelecto, mejorar tal, estamina y luego aumenta. Bueno, a ver, los bonus no son una maravilla, pero esto con todo puede estar muy bien, ¿eh? Y aquí el PvP. Uf, qué
You'll
interesante
notice that
esto.
they are a bit more specialized and focused than the previous level 60 PvP sets were. Each class will have a variety of sets available to them, such that multiple different specs or roles are covered. We're also making a few adjustments to the Blood Moon event, including adding brand new rewards for level 50. We'll also be adding a new currency for the level 50 rewards, called
Massacre
Massacre
Coins.
which you'll earn when killing higher level
Massacre
players in the event.
Coins.
We'll be retiring the Bloodstained commendations that are currently available from the Blood Coin vendor. Any existing commendations that you have will still function after the patch, but don't hold on to them forever. They will expire after 2 weeks. We think it's okay if you're able to bank these now to give you a bit of a leg up on PvP ranking at the start of the next phase, but we don't necessarily want you to be able to hoard enough coins to get you all the way up to rank 14 later on when that rank becomes available. We'll have a new PvP honor consumable token for level 50 as well, purchasable with the new currencies. And how about some gear? Here are a few of the new items available for the
Hostias.
Blood Moon event in phase
A ver, ¿qué tenemos aquí? A ver, ¿qué tenemos aquí? Corruptor Smashbringer. O sea, de 2 manos, una macita, con fuerza, estamina, intelecto, pues paladines y chamanes y tal. Porque no pone la clase, ¿no? Pero pone aquí de Blood Moon. Estas son cosas nuevas, entonces, ¿qué van a meter? O sea, con respecto a lo de Blood Moon, me refiero a que pone el 1, ¿vale? Luego también tendríamos esto, que es de paladín 36, 1, 2... Hurls the Spear at the target y Mobilizing them for 5. Hostias, qué interesante esto, Qué interesante esto. Y también un arquito. Your ranked attacks leads 5 health. Qué movida, ¿no?
Do note that the Headhunter's Barbed Spear is a warrior-only weapon.
Hostia, qué
We
movida.
also realized that ranged hunters may have felt a bit left out last time, so we've gone ahead and given them a pretty strong crossbow option in this round. Well, Phase 3 of Season of Discovery.
Vale, si ha metido una ballesta aquí, de este nivel, significa que, a no ser que aquí digan algo, yo me atrevería a decir que Valle de Alterac no lo van a meter, más que nada porque en la recompensa de nivel 51, que no la van a cambiar, será para la siguiente fase, era una ballesta muy buena.
Discovery will soon be upon us,
Sabréis cuál
and with
es.
it comes new loot, new opportunities to gain experience, and new adventure. Let's take a quick look at our new PvE world event called Nightmare Incursion.
Incursiones de
Picture, if you
pesadilla.
will, the 4 emerald portals scattered across Azeroth. At this point in history, the dragons of Nightmare, Terrar, Ysondra, Emerus, and Lethan have not yet arrived to spread their terror. However, as you approach each portal, you can't help but sense hidden danger. Something's not quite right. Those brave enough to enter an emerald portal will be plunged into a realm seeping with corruption and
Qué
overrun with
guapo,
dragons,
tío, de
treants,
verdad.
and other poor souls driven mad by the corruption. But beware, not all foes are alike. Some enemies can be defeated by a single seasoned adventurer, while others are perhaps too powerful to be faced alone. Nightmare Incursions offer repeatable PvE content.
O sea, le han dado al sueño Esmeralda un uso. Me cago encima. Esta no me la esperaba bajo ningún concepto. Vamos a seguir
For
viendo.
levels 25 through 50. To check it out, simply enter one of the 4 emerald portals located in Duskwood, Ashenvale, Hinterlands, or Feralus. This is a great new opportunity to earn experience, and those who choose to jump in and fight the corruption will have the chance to earn reputation with an all-new faction called the Emerald Wardens. With great danger comes great rewards. The Emerald Wardens will be very grateful for your help and will be offering a selection of choice new items to sweeten the deal.
Qué
One of the
guapo,
cool
tío.
things about Nightmare Incursions is that we plan to include some rewards at different player levels, as there will be content available for players roughly level 20 all the way to 50 across all 4 Nightmare portals. The first example is this Nightmare
guapo,
Siphon Trinket,
tío.
which could be really fun for low-level alts. For level 50, we have the Roar of the Dream, a somewhat unique ring that has a sizable spell damage proc on it. Lastly, we also plan to take a page from the Burning
perdón.
Crusade playbook and make a level 50 PvP set available at Honored with the new
También con
Emerald Warden
sets de
faction.
6.
This set isn't as powerful as some of the other PvP item rewards we plan
Baja,
to add
coño.
this phase, but it's a good stepping stone into the better items later on. With the launch of Phase 3 comes a host
A ver,
of
profesiones.
interesting new
¿Aumentará
updates to
profesiones o solamente
professions.
recetas?
Continuing on from the first 2 phases, we'll be introducing a new quest chain to give players access to new Nightmare armaments, crafting recipes, as well as some fun things for engineering, enchanting, and
Reusar el
alchemy.
Chemiflast
We've
y luego
also
muy esta
learned a few
ingeniería.
lessons from the previous phase of professions, so the cost to access the
bien.
recipes will be essentially free in terms of raw gold, and the cost of the recipes that Ziri offers in Nomargon are going to be decreased as well, in case you want to buy additional recipes for completion or you have a
Ajá.
vault that wants to snag
Oye, qué
recipes
bien
for
esto.
themselves.
Muy
We
bien.
think gold sinks are important and are going to explore different ways later on to do that are not so directly on the critical path of gear progression. Here's a quick look at a few of the crafted items you can make this phase.
Bueno, vaya
There are many more
objetazos. Vaya objetazos. Mira la movida esta de tela para brujo tanque. ¡Uy! Me aumenta el... ¡Qué bien esto, tío! De cuerito. ¡Qué barbaridad! Y money to fair. Screamy. Bueno, qué
more across
vasto,
various
qué
professions
guapo,
and for
tío.
various specs and roles. As you can see, some of these items offer interesting new on-equip effects which are applied while you're under the influence of the Nightmare. If you'd prefer to stay nightmare-free, we've got some cool new items such as the Void-powered Slayer's Vambraces, which can grant you immunity to fear for 15 seconds. We do plan to allow you to pick up specializations this phase, as well as allow you to level to 300 in each profession. Additionally, we've added a few new surprises here. For example, we
Qué
are adding
guapo,
a quest
tío.
to allow you to get additional potion, elixir, and flask procs when crafting those types of consumables. You'll also have to do a little bit of legwork to unlock these things, but the benefits should be well worth it. The lion's share of our new toys involving professions specs will be coming after level 60, and we have some very cool things planned there to allow you to make the most of your
Joder, tan
profession.
interesante, hostia, tan
That
interesante.
was a lot of updates. I hope I didn't forget anything. Josh, I'm not forgetting anything, am I?
Now that you mention it, Nora, there's
A ver,
one
que tenemos
small
otro
system
más.
update you might have missed. But first, hi, I'm Josh
Joder.
Greenfield, senior game producer on WoW Classic. So there is one small system change coming, and honestly, the update is so minor we almost didn't mention it, because we didn't think anyone would really care, but since we're all previewing things, we figured we might as well. So, in 1.15.2 with Phase 3, you may happen upon a
¿Qué es esto? ¿Qué es esto? ¿Qué pasa aquí? Dwarf of Many Talents. Oh, por fin, tío. La puta dual. Por fin, joder.
Action Dwarf from a faraway
Por
land
fin la
that has
dual,
one
tío.
very special talent that he wants to share with
Dios,
you
por
for a small fee,
fin,
of course.
coño.
Actually, to be a little bit more specific, he has 2 sets of special talents to share.
Menos
Like I
mal.
said, we were pretty sure this wouldn't be a big deal to most players. We probably should have just left it out of the presentation entirely. So, with that, we're approaching the home stretch, but we've got a tiny bit more to discuss, and we want to take some time to
Pues aún nos quedan 10 minutillos, ¿eh?
cover a few other miscellaneous topics, commonly asked questions, as well as a quick look at how things will start to shape up at level 60. So let's jump right into that.
Vale.
So the first topic here is world buffs. As with the previous phases, we'll continue
Muy bien,
to
a partir del
allow you to use
49
the
y 139,
previous world
me
buff
gusta,
up through the
muy
current
bien.
max level. The
Bien,
new
bien,
raid,
bien, bien.
Sunken Temple will also include a new world buff.
Bien.
We'll also be making some rather powerful consumables available for exchange on a certain NPC.
Zanza
using
es
materials
qué, eso
found
tenemos
in
que
the
ver qué
Sunken
es.
Temple raid. These are spiritually similar to the Zanza elixirs that you could obtain by exchanging items found in Zul'Gurub.
De Zul'Gurub,
They're quite
vale.
powerful, so you'll definitely want to bring them with you to the raid when you can.
Veremos eso
Also,
cómo
as
va.
with previous phases, we did want to clarify that bankable, repeatable turn-in items will not function to allow you to level quickly from 40 to 50. We really love the preparation aspects of original WoW, and things like pre-questing are great, but being able to bank hundreds or even thousands of repeatable quest turn-in items to get multiple levels right when the phase begins is not going to be supported in this or any phase going forward. To be clear, this includes things like Marks of Honor, Wastewander water pouches, and the troll necklaces from the Hinterlands. One of the big lessons we've learned in Season of Discovery is how tricky it can be to balance the level-up journey and the outdoor world, but to also encourage players to play multiple characters. It's tricky to manage, especially against a seasonal backdrop where the content phases are relatively short by World of Warcraft Warcraft standards. To help out with this a bit, we introduced a very powerful Discoverer's Delight XP buff at the
Vale, bien. 50% de leveo. Aquí pone 40-49,
It didn't really help to reduce the fatigue that came with leveling your first main character. By way of a compromise, in Phase 3, you will earn 50% additional XP from all sources from levels 40 to 49, and this will be active right when Phase 3 goes live. This is just to get a slight edge right away. It will still be a sizable number of hours to hit 50, but this will help move that along without feeling like you're either just flying through zones or conversely in danger of running out of quests if questing is your preferred leveling method. Note that the 100% buff from 1 through 39 will remain in place as well. Overall, we think that these buffs are a decent solution, but they aren't what we consider to be ideal. We're going to carry a lot of what we learned forward if we do something like this again, and maybe look at other adjustments we can make to help smooth the leveling curve in general. Additionally, as with Black Fathom Deeps before, Nomergon will give a sizable amount of XP for each boss kill.
Vale, bien, vale, para pillar experiencia, de puta madre.
When it is available to you. On the same
Justa.
token, we see Nightmare Incursions as a good quick way to get a good chunk of XP if you
Oh,
find
muy
yourself
bien,
wanting
para
to
levear
chain
también
your
las
own
Nightmare.
leveling routine.
Me
There's
gusta.
a lot of repeatable content that gives experience there. As for the raid release and lockout schedule, we've been thinking a lot about this and we decided to
Genial, genial. Ahora le falta que sea complicada. O sea, ya es de una semana, ahora solo le falta que de verdad sea complicada.
shift Sunken Temple to a weekly
El primer día
lockout,
podremos
and it will
jugarlo
be
ya.
available right at the release of Phase 3, kind of similar to what we did with Nomergon.
Y tendrán que tirar un montón de loot.
Players will have 5 full days to hit level 50 if you want to try and get in a raid during that first lockout, and then the raid will work like any other weekly lockout, resetting on Tuesday or your normal regional lockout day. We decided to make this swap for a few reasons. First, we've gotten feedback from players saying they would like to have a bit more consistency with their raid schedule, and with the raid size going up to 20 players in this phase,
Mientras las
being able
pongas
to plan
complicadas, me da
long-term is
igual.
even more important. We'll also talk about this a little bit more in the next few slides, but we're also thinking ahead to what the raiding landscape will look like once we hit level 60. That also informs this decision. Lastly, on this topic, we will be sure we are being generous with drops to compensate for this change. That's a good segue to talk about level 60 in-game. Since we're getting close to 60, we think it makes sense to
Al
dig into a few more
60.
details
Vamos a ver
about
qué
the
tenemos al
steps,
60.
starting with Phase 4. This preview is very, very early and in no way comprehensive, but it's just meant to be a minor sneak peek at some things we have cooking. Again, to stress that much of what you will see here is still very much in development, and some specifics could and likely will change. This is more of a look at our general thought process, rather than the actual set-in-stone plans we have. As we alluded to a few slides ago, we plan to
A ver,
standardize raid
¿esto?
lockouts from level 50 and beyond to a weekly reset. This
Vale,
includes things
pues
like
sabemos ya
Soul Club,
esto.
Ruins of Anchorage, and Onyxia's Lair. We also want to ensure with our itemization updates, many of the items, even in early raids, remain relevant for a pretty good long time. Ultimately, this is a very classic approach, and many items you got even as your pre-raid best in slot, such as the Hand of Justice or the Savage Gladiator chain, remained good for several tiers, and we want to carry this forward. With this in mind, however, we know you will likely want to run several different raids a week, but we want to avoid a situation where logistics gets messy because you have to contend with a large number of irregular, unwieldy raid lock timers. By the time Blackwing Lair is out, for example, there's going to be a large menu of relevant things to do at level 60, and being able to plan and schedule activities on a predictable cadence is going to be very important. Last quick note on this, while Upper Blackrock Spire is technically a 10-player raid, it's never had a lockout, and that will remain true. It's essentially a 10-player dungeon, and will remain that way. So go farm those Briarwood raids.
Vale.
Another
Hostia,
very
qué bien,
frequently
tío.
asked question we've received is what about
Qué locura,
weapon
cuántas
skill ratios?
cosas.
From the start, we've suggested that you shouldn't need to worry too much about things like orc and human weapon skills long term, and that you should feel good about choosing whatever race you want based on their aesthetics or other bonuses that race gives.
Sí, las relaciones de toda la vida.
Every phase, we get asked for a status update on this, and we just wanted to confirm that yes, the solution is coming at level 60. At
Me
level
gusta
60,
esto
you'll
mucho,
be able
tío.
to discover a method to essentially swap
Qué
in and
bien
out
esto.
up to 2 weapon skill bonuses for your character. So, for example,
Muy bien.
if I were a Troll Fury Warrior and I had a Mace and a Dagger,
Porque en general, en el Classic, lo que es más 5 en armas, más mejor en armas en hachas, espada de 2 manos, lo que sea. Eso hacía que todo el mundo jugase siempre lo mismo. De esta forma no va a hacer falta. Genial.
+5 maces and +5 daggers. Please note that these weapon skill bonuses do not stack with each other or
Will
with
no
a certain race's
stacks.
normal passive weapon skill
Muy
bonuses.
bien, tío.
So in the same scenario, if I were a
Muy
human
bien.
warrior, I already get +5 maces for my racial skill. So instead, I might want to use +5 bows and +5 daggers, so that maybe my bow skill had a better
Muy
chance
bien
to
esto,
hit
tío,
without
muy bien.
killing higher level mobs. Just like your racial skills, however, these passives will stack with any weapon skill you gain from items, such as Obsidian Edge Blade or Maladath Ruined Blade of the Black Flight. These unlockable
Pueden ser
passives will be
swapeadas.
available right at level 60, and while there will be a short discovery to unlock them, everyone who wants them will have access to them early on. Continuing that line of thought, yes, priests will also be able to unlock other races' unique priest spells as well.
Ah, lo
such
de,
as
lo de
Devouring
los
Blade,
priest,
Fearwolf.
al
We don't want to
60.
spoil how this will work
Me
just
gusta,
yet,
me gusta.
but just like weapon skills, we do get asked about this a lot and wanted to confirm that this was also coming and would be available early on at level 60. There will also be discoveries tied to accessing these spells as well. So this is the last big item in our level 60 preview, and we think it's the most impactful, as items are obviously going to be a major focus of the
Va a estar
level
muy
60.
guapo, la 3 y la 4 van a estar de puta madre.
To add multiple variants for different specs and roles that
Of
each class can
Spectre
do.
sets.
We don't necessarily intend to make a full set for every single niche playstyle in every raid tier, as some classes could end up with upwards of 5 to 7 sets every few months. But we do want to try and cover a lot of the major roles as well as some new playstyles we've added to different classes, so that most unique roles each class has access to get something cool at some point during their level 60 journey. Additionally, we plan to revamp many existing non-set dungeon and raid items at level 60, as well as adding new best-in-slot or nearly best-in-slot
New Beast Profession al 60, ¿vale?
We think there's a
Y los
lot of
ítems
fun
del
and
60.
interesting things we can do with the level 60 professions and profession specialization crafts, and we plan to expand on those to keep crafting more relevant for a longer period of time. Lastly, swapping profession specializations will be easier and more flexible, but will likely have a cost associated with doing so. We're still ironing
Hostia,
out
qué bien
the
eso también,
what this will look like, but if you're familiar with how this worked in Burning Crusade, that might be a good starting point to inform how this might work. Finally, here's a few quick examples of what potentially...
Con todos sus sets, con todas sus cositas. Esto es de rogue de tanque, porque lo pone por aquí, ¿no? En cada parry. Aquí que tenemos paladín también. ¿Qué tenemos? ¿Es de bien esto?
New tier sets could look like. These are very much not finalized, so any of the stats or set bonuses
Todos los
could and
ajustes
probably
para el
will change.
siguiente.
So first off, you'll notice we've got a tanking rogue set with a very interesting 8-piece bonus. We've also got a Shockadin paladin set.
El
that
Shockadin
really plays up key
paladin.
abilities such as Exorcism and Holy Shock. Lastly, we
Y
have
de
a Boomkin
Boomkin,
set
claro.
that really leans into some of the bonuses we've recently
Hará
added.
falta uno de brujo tanque.
Again, these are somewhat early on, rough draft versions of some of these items, but we think being able to make exciting new variations of these iconic item sets
Y esto
is
es
very
una
cool, and it's
parte.
going to be a defining
Queda
feature of the
mucho
level
más.
60 endgame. So with that, we're done with today's presentation. Thank you for bearing with us on this one, as it was a long one. We've had a blast on this wild season of Discovery journey with you so far, and we honestly can't wait to get Phase 3 into your hands, as well as provide a bit more information on Phase 4 as we start getting a little bit closer to that. As always, we want to express a heartfelt thanks from the WoW Classic development team. Thank you for playing with us, thank you for the feedback, and thank you for the participation in helping us develop this season. We'll see you again when Season of Discovery Phase 3 goes live shortly. Thank you again.
Bueno, pues vaya puta locura tenemos para fase 3 y para fase 4. Esto es una puta barbaridad. Mañana subiré vídeos de estos, pero con mucha más movida y vídeos más específicos de todo lo que hemos visto hoy, porque si no se queda este vídeo larguísimo porque lo hemos visto entero. Así que ya sabéis, día 4 de abril empezamos la fase 3 y sabéis que en este canal vais a tener todo el contenido de Season of Discovery. Muchísimas gracias por el vídeo, espero que os haya gustado. Si es así podéis darle like y suscribiros, y si no, también, porque a los 20.000 tenemos sorteo solo por darle a suscribirte, que es gratis, ya participas. Muchísimas gracias por ver el vídeo. Recuerda que abajo en la descripción tienes todos los links y también el Discord de Mercado Bascal y 2 jugadores en Mando Kir, en Farmou y Season of Discovery a cambio de oro. Muchísimas gracias por ver el vídeo y ahora sí, corten por favor, corten.